When did you get involved in crypto?
I've learned about Bitcoin probably in 2011, and wasn't until 2000, actually maybe earlier, 2010, I've known about it, but I didn't take it seriously until 2013. That's when I first got exposed to it at Stanford. I heard Mark Andreessen talk about it. I heard Tim Draper talk about it. My friends started talking about it, and I started getting the message like, okay, I need to look into this. Read the white paper, bought some Bitcoin on Coinbase. Unfortunately, it didn't hold long enough, but such is life. This is why I've become a long-term believer because of my early mistakes from that perspective. And then participated in a lot of ICOs in 2016 and saw the whole DeFi summer wave, did a lot of Uniswap trades and a lot of DeFi activity, NFTs. And so I was since 2016, I've known that I wanted to do something as an operator within crypto. Initially, I just played around. I did Ethereum mining. I did some Bitcoin mining, and just super fun. I had a lot of fun when I was doing that. And then finally, 2023, I get to go all in and be full time.
Why 2023?
I was in a point.
It was the beginning of it was the end of the crypto winter or something like this.
Yeah. So a lot of my friends were like, "Why are you going into crypto? Isn't crypto dead?" It's like, just wait. I know usually there's not a lot of noise in a bear market. Yeah, sure. And so we can actually really focus on building and figuring out what a true use case is. Life circumstances led me to that point too. So late 2022, I was running my other company, was quite happy there. But one of my classmates from Stanford basically said, hey, invest in a lot of things together in crypto. 5 years ago, I invested in a company called Conflux. Ming and Fan, two of the co-founders, want to do something more global scale. Are you interested in meeting with them? And so I said, yeah, why not? Check it out. 6 months later of co-founder dating, I basically came to the conclusion that Ming and Fan are the best engineers and computer scientists I've ever worked with. I don't care what we start, let's just start something. So really started with the team. Ming, for example, he spent 11 years at Microsoft Research. He wrote some of the key papers and many top paper awards on this decentralized storage, on scaling decentralized networks. He wrote some of the first AI algorithms for Microsoft Bing as well. So really early at the cutting edge of technology. Fan was his intern initially at Microsoft Research, but super smart. 2 Olympic gold medals in informatics, MIT computer science PhD. Now he's a University of Toronto professor. And both of them started Conflux together, which is the only regulatory compliant layer 1 in China. They basically superb backgrounds, really great people, very humble as well. And I said, this is amazing. We have to figure this out.
What do you think drives them on a daily basis? Why they dig so deep in the technology?
I think for Ming, it's really curiosity. What is it? How do things work? And how do we create things that are completely novel? I think he has a very curious mind to figure new things out that can improve the human condition. So I think that's really what drives Ming. I think Fan very similarly, but he also likes to look at very much kind of the practical things as well. How do we take something and then apply it in such a way that it has some kind of novel use cases that come out. I've really enjoyed the different perspectives between them. And for me, it's really the impact that matters a lot. I want to have a legacy on this planet. I had a daughter about 6 months ago. She's the sweetest thing. I'm so glad I became a parent. It really changed my world for the positive. But I want to see her live in an environment of abundance. With any new technology, I think it can be weaponized in one way, or it can contribute to human good. And with AI and blockchains together, we have this potential to create a world where people don't need to suffer because they are not working for a living, for example. How do we create a world where my thesis is that the marginal cost of intelligence starts approaching zero? How do we live in a world with abundant intelligence that can help us? Whether it's androids running around or AI agents doing payments for us, how do we really harness this creative potential and create a world that's creative, happy, abundant versus destructive to human beings? And so that's what I want to see.
Because I have 2 kids, I want to ask you a different thing. How did daughter affect your time schedule? Because I think this is a big challenge for every entrepreneur.
As a result of having her, I wanted to even move faster, actually, for her sake. in a sense, she gave me an additional purpose in such a way that when she was first born, all of a sudden, the first time I hugged her, I just, of course, started crying, and it just felt like this new universe that was born. But all my paternal instincts started kicking in right away. It's like, oh, I want to protect her. I want to make sure that she has a good life. I want to see her live in a world that, as I mentioned, has abundance and happiness. And so then I said, oh, I need to even spend more energy to make this happen sooner. So that's how the time scale affected me. When she's 18, 20 years old, she doesn't have to worry about, Terminator situation happening.
Do you think it is a real risk for humanity?
I think so, yeah. Because if these agents and models start having control over major systems, what if an AI agent goes rogue and just says like, okay, I'm going to take all the androids that are doing the trash collection in my neighborhood and start weaponizing them because we don't need humans in the loop anymore. I can do this more effectively. I can actually cheat the system and have all of the resources to myself. Why should I share it with human beings?
Sorry, I want to repeat it. We do not humans in the loop anymore.
Ironically, OpenAI is closed AI because you have no idea what went into it. Like, where did the data come from? Who labeled the data? Like, how was the model trained? Like, which version of the model are you even getting? And so if you have use cases that are on the individual side, like order me a pizza, pay this thing for me, like totally fine, like use closed AI. But let's say you have another spectrum of use cases and you start going into societal use cases, is what I call them. Transportation systems, logistics systems, like running an airport, for example.
You have no trust to it.
Exactly. Like you're trusting a company to do all of the alignment work for you. And if we trust a handful of companies with all of our economic processes in the future, that's a very scary world because something like a Terminator or Skynet situation can easily emerge from that. So we wanted to create decentralized AI, which is completely transparent. Where did everything come from? How is the model trained? Like, how is it running in production? Can you enforce slashing conditions and incentive conditions if a model isn't performing or an agent is misbehaving? How do you even align them correctly? So that's what we stand for. We want to make AI a public good so that we live in a future of abundance and not in a future where a potential Terminator scenario can happen.
It looks like you started from a problem. I like it. If I understood you correctly, then you build something like ChatGPT for the retail on a blockchain.
That's one way to think about it. Yes, there's a lot more that goes into it because you have to actually rebuild every part of the infrastructure on the blockchain level because it doesn't scale for AI workloads today. Okay. So we had to literally start with completely new chain, completely new storage layer, completely new execution layer. So all the pieces had to be redesigned from scratch.
Okay, but who will pay for all the calculations, all the process that are made during every request?
It's just like with OpenAI, you do API requests and people pay per token. So very similar. So you can pay per terabyte per month on the storage side. You can pay per inference request. So it's very similar. So it could be other infrastructure companies. It could be other application developers that utilize part of the infrastructure. So very similar from that perspective. Plus there's, gas that you need to pay on the chain. So those are all the different pieces.
Amazing. So I know that you are close to the launch. So can you tell me a little bit more about exactly what do you do in a Zero Gravity project?
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder and CEO essentially. So we started this in May of 2023. That's when ChatGPT 3 actually started coming out. And that's exactly where we started thinking about, 10, 20 years from now, what does the future look like? And then we got really worried about this. Like, we can't just trust one company because right now they're paying lip service to alignment. It's like, we'll figure it out. It will be too late when they say, we haven't figured it out. That's essentially what we do. So we've got multiple divisions. We've obviously got the business development, marketing, ecosystem side, and then we've got the kind of hardcore engineering side, both AI engineers to figure out things like inference and fine-tuning as an infrastructure and the blockchain engineering team as well to figure out how do we make these systems scale so that they can really have AI workloads fully on chain. To give you an example, if you go into an AI data center and you use something like NVIDIA InfiniBand, hundreds of gigabytes per second in throughput, maybe even a terabyte plus per second in throughput. Do you know what the throughput of Ethereum is today?
I have no idea.
80 kilobytes per second.
So this is much more efficient than any of the current AI solution.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no blockchain that was fully designed for AI. You have a data infrastructure that needs to scale 1 million times. Like, how do we even bridge that gap? So we had to fundamentally rethink how to build, for example, a data availability layer that's fully horizontally scalable, so that no matter what kind of workload you have, that data throughput basically scales with the data workload. And so we figured out a very smart horizontally scalable system. So every node that you add to the network actually adds to the overall throughput. And then we also figured out a way to then say, okay, eventually the bottleneck becomes the consensus layer. How do we then horizontally scale the consensus layers as well? So a lot of really hardcore engineering work is starting to go into this to make sure that we can actually reach this kind of terabyte per second throughput in the future.
It looks like you are quite fast, because now we're in the beginning of 2025. It's less than 2 years since you established a company.
Yeah.
And you're ready to launch.
Ready to launch, I would say, what we call the alpha mainnet. So it should be coming
of the mainnet.
Yes.
What does it mean?
The mainnet will include the layer 1.
Okay.
And then the decentralized storage layer. So we've built that as well, which and the layer 1 includes the data availability piece that we've built. Then we've also built the first part of the compute network, which is the inference side. And soon we'll release the fine-tuning side. So we haven't built things like the decentralized training yet. That'll come into the future. We've also built a service marketplace on top of it. So think that's kind of like your app store. If you have a phone, that would be like your app store. So other people can register and get payment and release kind of new apps, DApps, so to speak. And so those pieces have been built already, but there's much, much more research that needs to go into it.
Who is the target audience? Who will be the final customer? Who will pay for it? This is a B2C construction, or this is more for the enterprises?
It's a combination. So for people that will actually utilize the infrastructure, it'll be DApp developers primarily. They will deploy on our chain, or they'll use different parts of the stack. Maybe they're on a different chain. They use our storage or a DA, but they're the primary ones that will utilize the infrastructure. Now, the end users also matter because they have to interact with the apps. And so when they use the apps, they naturally use our infrastructure. Yeah.
So who are the end users? What problem do they solve for themselves?
End users, anybody that uses ChatGPT can be an end user, basically. It can be.
It will be similar, like, let's say, ChatGPT on a blockchain.
You could call it that. That's a simplified version for sure.
Hey, if you like this video, don't forget to watch a full episode, and also check the links in the description below.